Alright, so good morning, you guys. So if you're watching this, that means that you went ahead and met with myself in Google Meet, so I could do attendance. Now, originally we were going to do these notes live, but I don't think I could last all day with how I'm feeling. So what we're going to do today, and I should have already explained this, is we're just going to be examining and analyzing the physical geography of China, and more specifically, how the physical geography impacts the people who are living here. So if we look at this map of China, the first thing that's going to pop out to you is this giant red section on the western side. Okay, and then on the other side, it's completely different, right? And so China can be divided simply into two different parts. The mountains and the plateaus on the western side. And then on the eastern seaboard, we have more plains and we have more hills. Okay. Now, because of those plains and hills, that obviously tells us that that terrain is much, much less rugged than the western side. And so because it is less rugged, that will tell us then that the land is better for farming. And because that land is better for farming, that is where the majority of China's population is going to be living. Okay, now those western mountains have provided or served a purpose in the past and still do today. The first thing that they do is, well, they help protect China, right? We have learned before that governments governments use their mountains as barriers for protection. Now, China has also used their mountains as barriers for protection, but they've also used it to help isolate them for hundreds of years. Okay. All right, now our next major landform is in the northern section of China, and it is the barrier that separates China from Mongolia, and that is known as the Gobi Desert, and it is right here. Okay. Now, the Gobi Desert excuse me. The Gobi Desert, it's a massive desert, okay, and like any other desert, it's going to be the source of frequent dust storms that plague the area. And because it's a desert, that tells us that there's not a lot of moisture, okay, and so the Gobi Desert receives less than, and I'll wait for this, it receives less than 3 inches of rain per year. Okay, so not a lot of rain. All right. Our last major landform is in the southern section of China, and it is a part of that western mountainous region, and it is the Himalayan mountain range. Now, you've probably heard of the Himalayan mountain range. Its major impact on the people living there is that it has separated China, really, from the rest of South Asia. Now, another part of the Himalayan mountain range that you probably heard of is Mount Everest, and it is located, if I can find my mouse, it's located right here on the map. Now, the Himalayas are the world's highest mountains, and Mount Everest specifically is the tallest peak in the world, okay, which is pretty cool. All right, those are our major landforms of China. Let's move on now to our major water systems and the climate. So when you take world history, you're going to learn a lot about these two rivers. But there are two major rivers that define China. And the first one is known as the Yellow River. And you can see on the map it's located right here. Now, the Yellow River historically has been very important for China because it provides nutrient-rich topsoil, okay, for the region. And again, that is going to make this area very, very fertile and super ideal for farming. Okay, now our other major river is the Yangtze River, and it is in the southern section of the country right here. Now you might think, oh, no, the river, its main purpose is going to be to help with farming. It does help with farming, but it is really a major transportation route for China, and it's home to the Three Gorges Dam, which is this massive dam that you see right here. Okay, the Three Gorges Dam, fun fact, has had issues lately. And one of your in the reading you're going to do after is going to talk about this, how China has had issues with climate change and its dams starting to break and fault, and how, that could impact the people around there. All right, so because, the landform of China is going to be super diverse, that's also going to tell us that the climate area, or the climate, is going to be very, very diverse. So if you go to the southern section of China, you're getting closer to the equator, so it's going to be more tropical. And if you go very, very far north up in China, you can start to get to subarctic areas. Okay, so very vast range of climate. Now, in China, and we're going to learn about this when we get to India, they have seasonal winds that are going to direct the weather patterns of China. And those seasonal winds will often bring about typhoons, or simply large violent storms, specifically through August and late October, that are going to threaten the region. And I guess the best way to think about them, hurricanes. Here in the United States, we have a hurricane season that are the direct result of seasonal winds. And China, I don't want to say has the same issue, but China interacts with their climate and their surroundings similar to the way we do when talking about hurricanes and typhoons. All right, guys, so that's it for our notes. Pretty short, about 6.5 minutes. You can go ahead now and move on to the reading section for today. And if you have a question on something, feel free to reach out to me.